All right, welcome friends. How are you? Say hi in the chat so I know who's tuning in. I'm Peter Bowden. I'm so excited for this session. We are talking hacks to really help optimize your worship services for online attention spans, really making your worship services more engaging, easier for online viewers to connect with. So in the chat, we have people from Boston. Hi, Janine. Carol, Judy, tell me where you're tuning in from. It's great to have you. And I know that for many of you, we're at a season where you have new ministers getting ready to candidate. It's such an exciting time. Spring, there's flowers, there's new ministers. Lots going on. All right. So, first of all, I'm Peter Bowden. I am a congregational consultant, trainer, coach, working with Unitarian Universalists, especially, though with other nonprofits and organizations as well. Really bringing communication strategy, leadership strategy, community building all together to really help you lead online and lead and grow thriving organizations, especially congregations. So, in this session, we are going to talk about 3 specific hacks to help make your online worship content easier for people online to attend to, which is so important today because why? Nearly everyone, not all, but so many of the people who end up becoming members in our congregations, connecting, being part of the life and heart of your communities, that journey starts online, friends. And if the content that we're sharing online, be it for existing members and friends to tune into because they're participating online, or maybe they're catching a replay after it's been live streamed. But especially newcomers start by looking at that content. So it's so important that for some of the first worship experience that many visitors are ever going to have with your congregation is looking at your online content, especially like if you're on Facebook and YouTube, especially if you have online worship content, they're checking that out. And so for me, who cares so much about first-time visitors and really helping to transform their lives by welcoming them successfully into the life and heart of our congregations, that first-time experience is so important. So first, tell me, friends who are participating live, you can also share in a comment for the replay of this video. Are you live streaming your services? Where are you live streaming to? What are the destinations? Facebook, YouTube? Are you posting worship recordings? Are you posting excerpts like sermons, messages for all ages? Tell me in the comments what you're doing. And I should note that this session is brought to you by my training, Video Message Academy for Congregations. That's right, I'm sponsoring myself. That is an on-demand training for Unitarian Universalists, my denomination, a corresponding online community where I'm offering additional support, but really strategy and skill training, everything related to using video to engage, to connect, engage, and inspire participation in congregational life there in that training. Now, let's get into, I want to see a little bit of what you're doing. Zoom, post recordings to YouTube and our website. What else? Facebook. I know some people who've been in touch with me in advance are doing some multi-streaming. All right, cheerleading. Here we go, friends. Are you ready? Number 1, the top thing, one of the most important things we need to do for online viewers is frame your video. So like that's the way you set up the shot. Frame your video for online viewing. But what does that mean? What does it mean? Frame for attention. So when we are in the world, out and about, and we see somebody, we're looking at someone speak on a stage, or we're listening to someone in proximity, we kind of tune in and just pay attention to, like in the focal area of our vision, the part that matters to us. Our brains kind of tune everything else out, and we focus just on that part that matters most, the person speaking. And we really pay attention from like the sternum up to a little bit over the top of the head. So it's like a medium shot. So you might be in a big auditorium, a congregation. If you're really tuning into what the person's saying, you're really focusing primarily on them and their message. When we're online, what we're seeing, the thing that's in our focal area, like where our attention is is the video player. Who controls what's on the video player? Not the viewer. It's you, the congregation. And so I look at a lot of online video content as part of my ongoing research with ministry and media. And I put together some graphics for you. Ready for this? A lot of congregations, I observe, are doing very wide shots, which looks something more like this. Can you see that? Isn't that cute? All right, so here's what happens. You got this beautiful sanctuary. You have stained glass windows or other things. You have chalices, you have flowers. And the person who's trying to make it all look nice on camera is trying to include everything. But the problem is, to include everything means the person, and look at the person in this case, the speaker is very small. Like when we're watching TV, if you look at the news, how are the anchors on news programs? Generally, like you might see a wide shot to show you the context, but then they show just from the sternum up to the top of the head. So we need to get in closer. So what I observe is you get these closer shots, and like the person who's controlling your video gets a little bit closer. So you see more of the person, but in terms of a video screen, I mean, the size of your video, they're still only halfway up the screen. Why? Well, they're still trying to include the flower and the windows and the other things. I challenge you, look at your congregation's videos on wherever you host them, say YouTube, especially the sermons. How is the speaker who's preaching, teaching, etc., how big are they on screen? We want them to be getting closer. This is getting to be kind of like a nice medium, wideish medium shot. But here, the person, I based this on a real video. Okay, I didn't want to call anyone out, so I made a graphic. They're still trying to include the flower in the window. If we get really, and this is getting closer to what a human being who's paying attention to a sermon is going to be trying to look at. So maybe even at the heart of the sermon, you're tuning in just to the person at the lectern. So many of you, if you can move towards getting this close and not like back like that, that is going to help people pay attention. Because if in your video frame, you've set it up so that as like people are only looking at what's happening for them at what seems like a distance, you're forcing them in their brain to be disengaged. Okay. So like if we're trying to pay attention to a service that's really filmed from far away like this, you're just not going to be able to attend to it. People are going to zone out. They might not even realize that they can't see as close as they want to. And so they tune away. And tuning away means they click away. Does that make sense? And again, this is a quick hack. Like you can just look at your video content, what you're posting online, especially the parts where we're focusing on delivering a sermon or other key message, testimonial, children's message, whatever it is. Obviously, it's nice to have times when we show wider shots of your sanctuary. That's fantastic, which brings us to a need to have multiple cameras. A lot of you are using multiple cameras. If you can invest in a camera that can get you a nice zoom shot, like zoom in to that nice insight and wisdom to share, and you can focus on me. Beautiful. If you can get to that and have it be crisp and clear, amazing. Some people, cameras can't get in that far. That's a great investment. You have multiple cameras and the capacity to zoom in with nice clear resolution for your sanctuary for the future. All right, let's get into number 2. All right. This one, I'm going to do one that's most challenging now for worship leaders, ministers, others, and then do one, the third one, super easy and equally as powerful. All right. When you go to a congregation service and attend on site, you have made the decision to participate in that service. You enter the building, you sit down, you're like locked in. You're not being chained in. You're not like handcuffed. But for the most part, you've opted in for the whole service. This, friends, is not the case when you're watching online. When you're watching online, if things get slow, or you don't know what's going on, or you don't know the great things to come, you really haven't opted in for the full experience. You're, especially newcomers and people who aren't tightly connected to the congregation, they're more in a, I'm hoping this is as great as I hope it serves my needs. I hope it's the inspiration I want. I hope this is my spiritual community. And if it's awkward, boring, or slow, there's a lot of other things to do. And so we have a real challenge to make sure that we're designing our services so that people can attend to it. And this is the most important. And in Video Message Academy for congregations, I go into like some deeper strategy on how to do that in terms of like organizing content. But for you, what I recommend, and this is, I would say, an innovative and challenging hack that if you implement it will be very helpful for online viewers, but you will get some pushback potentially from people in the pew. And that is, wherever you're starting your service, don't start with all the prelude stuff, all the things that are like announcements. You have to start that service with what is really a hook or some kind of message for the people online that is delivering what I've been starting to think about. I was talking to a colleague about this yesterday. The VIP for the service. VIP. What's the value in participating? And if you're watching the replay, what's the value in click and play and sticking with it? All right, what does this mean? If I'm thinking that this congregation might be fantastic for me as a newcomer, but I'm not sure, if I don't know people, if I'm not already connected to the leadership, the message, the meaning, the value locked in, it's very hard to stick with organ preludes, announcements, things that aren't speaking to why I'm there. In like some congregations, you might not get something that really speaks to what a newcomer is looking for till 15 minutes into the service. Some 5, some 20, it varies. So we have to say, I think, if we're going to keep doing this online worship approach, which is important, start your service with a message that's really welcoming. This is kind of almost, you could call it, it's like a pre-service welcome. I know I've talked to clergy who do not want to change the standard prelude, this, that, whatever. So we're sharing a message where we say, hey, welcome everyone. We have a great, this could be the minister, could be someone else. We have a great service for you today. We're going to dive into, highlight the topic. Why is it important? Speak to the value, the need, like why are you doing this service? If we're talking Earth Day, why are we talking about Earth Day? And really talk about, this is, like, we're going to dive into this question, and then here, speak to the viewer. Make sure you look, the person who's offering this kind of initial message, the hook is trying to make them decide, yes, I want to attend to this. This matters for me. They're looking at the camera and they say, have you been feeling like, or are you curious about, or have you ever experienced asking some questions that directly speak to why the person's tuning into the service, and say, we're going to, do this, A, B, C, however you want to frame it. Maybe share some other highlights. We got a great message with puppets, and so is doing this in the music. This is going to be fantastic. And, together we're working towards vision casting. Boom, all that. You could do everything I just mentioned, 90 seconds. Just 90 seconds. So short that the people in the pews barely realize that you've just done a special, very important message for the people tuning in online. Why does this matter? If you can speak to the hopes, wants, needs, like the why the person online, be it a member, friend of your congregation, newcomer, or a first-time visitor who's exploring your content online, if you can speak to like what it is that they actually are looking for in that first little message, like this hook, where you're sharing the value in sticking with the service, they're like, oh, they are going to speak to what I want. Very often we have worship descriptions that are a little vague, and it doesn't really deliver the insight, the meaning, the value, the connection. Like, so if you can start your services with an actual spoken message, that's kind of like, we're about to start the service, we've got a great service for you, but know that this is going to make a huge difference in the ability for people online to stick with the service because they know what's coming and you've spoken to them, you've looked at them in the eye, smiled, maybe asked a couple questions to get them thinking. That can have a huge difference. Very different, right, from you start on a video, live stream or replay, and it's like, I see content that's like countdown timer, then prelude, then announcements, and like I've timed this like with a stopwatch. No actual human being engaging to the people on camera, online, speaking to them for 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes of the video. So I don't think online viewers, unless you're already like totally connected to the congregation, member, and you're just participating from home, but you're all in. If you're not all in already, that's really challenging. So that, a service hook, give them the value in participating, really just speak to them. That's going to be a game changer for a lot of the people who wouldn't have been able to stick with that slower content. And last, this one's going to be easy. That last one's hard, right? Number 2 is hard because it means you actually have to be intentional, craft a little short message that really delivers in record time, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, why this service is of value in a way that doesn't seem like you're necessarily selling, but it's more like you're giving people, like you're cheerleading them and participating. That's a different approach, a different model. But friends, 2023, it's time. All right, and last in our hacks to help with your attention span, reaching people online, title and description of your video content on YouTube or Facebook. But I'm going to focus a little bit more on YouTube because I think it's really important to have your content library on YouTube because people are searching and getting content via YouTube in a way that's a little different, I think more valuable than Facebook. If I had to choose Facebook versus YouTube, I'm all in on YouTube. That's a different session. A lot of congregations are having services that are titled, ready for this? Dun, dun, dun. Sunday service, April 11th, 2023. That's it. Maybe then there's a blurb, Easter service. That's it. That's like all the information on the channel, on the video player about that thing. So right now we have, for many of our congregations, more people tuning into the replay than are participating or tuning in live. Like existing members and friends are watching the replay, people exploring the congregation, checking out the replay, which means we can use the title and should, not just can, we should use the title of your video content, say your services on YouTube, to share critical information for those viewers. What is this service about? Now, if say there's a service title, date. Well, what's it about? No idea. So am I going to watch it? If it popped up on my feed, would I ever click and check it out? No, if you don't care enough to tell me what it's about, why should I look? Now, if I'm already a member and I know that that's the service where like my niece sang in the choir and did the thing, like I'm going to watch it. But newcomers, not so much. But suppose you did a service on addressing social isolation, speaking to what it's like to have friends in the digital age and like the challenges we have today and how your congregation is helping people build community and connecting, and you're addressing the need for community and sharing the top ways to get involved, including a special event related to connecting everyone in the congregation on site and online, at a certain date. And that service could be titled, we all need friends, and then like community build, like something related to your congregation. In the description, we have, the thing that we explain to people when the service starts, like, in this service, we're going to dive into this and that and explore this question. Have you ever experienced X, Y, and Z? And then these things are going to happen. That is like right there at the top of the YouTube video description. And of course, in that description, we can also say Sunday service, date, like date, year, congregation, and all that information. What does this do? One, it tells the viewers, oh, this is what this is about. Like, so many people come into our congregations looking for friends. I'm in congregations, especially where we attend, where my wife's on staff, talking to newcomers all the time. The amount of times that people are saying, oh yeah, I came, this is my first Sunday, I need friends. Peter, I need friends. Like, if people are being so explicit about that, the need is through the roof. So if we share a service that is speaking to that, and you can actually see, oh, like, I'm looking and there's a service. Friends, does this make sense? It's not rocket science, but the majority, a huge number, 2/3 of the congregational YouTube channels I look at don't include any meaningful information. All right, we have to work on this. So I land on your YouTube channel as a first-time visitor. It's like, oh, there's the service on loneliness. Oh, here is mindfulness and this and that. And in the description, it's like, oh, the minister's a Zen master. We have those. Like, my congregation growing up had a Zen master. And like all this content described just like you would in a newsletter blurb. And that helps people really see, like, oh, this is what that's about. And you may not, when you first write your sermon blurb, say those of you who are like delivering the messages, the talk, the sermon, you might not have the final takeaway points, like the great language when you share your newsletter blurb in advance. But you can take highlights and stick that, like give that to the people who are populating the content, the descriptions for your videos on YouTube, say, and Vimeo, other places as well. And that's really going to help people see that content. And while they're starting to play, and even if some things are slow, like, friends, I know, like, if you are not like all in on organ music is slow. Okay. So when I say some things are slow, it's nothing personal. Just like, we don't all like organ music. It's not my favorite. I've confessed that before. Okay. But we have some of these legacy music traditions. All right. Now, questions. Tell me your questions in the chat. I have, this was a little bit more, less Q&A, more hackathon. What do we have for questions? A couple questions I had in advance. Sermon videos. If you're doing something where you're trying to, give people a sense of what's to come, like a real hook, so they're going to stick with the video, like really attend to it. What if you're just doing a sermon video? Like, do you just do the sermon, or should you change how you design your sermon? I think if you're just going to be sharing sermon excerpts, you have to design the first moments, seconds, minute of that sermon to be a hook, because the number of people who start watching your videos is this much. After 30 seconds, it's down to this much. After like 2 minutes, down here. And then you're left with the people, who are going to watch it no matter what. But like the people who are like, I'm going to give this a shot and I don't quite know what it's about. Like there's that big drop off. So we have to tell them what it's about. What else? Let me grab questions from over here. What about, I mentioned that other session when we spoke about Meet the Minister videos. Should we do videos around religious educators? Yes, I think we should do meet your religious educators and other staff, other key volunteers on your website. That'd be very helpful. All right, let's see, from Carol. You Zoom the service in a retirement home where I live. Live for the UE residents and visitors. The live service participants seem focused on live. Zoom is an afterthought. How to share more easily. All right. I think that what, Carol, when you say how to share more easily, what do you mean share which component? Share what? I will say we've fallen back into like, all right, for many congregations, the service is like live in the congregation, on site, and what's happening online is an afterthought, or it's just like we're just broadcasting into onto Zoom or a live stream. Many congregations are doing great things with using Zoom to create online community interaction. So I think, Carol, I don't have a long time to do more questions. So if you want to visit my website, www.peterbowden.live/contact, and email me, I'd be happy to do a follow-up with you about that. But I'll just say that some congregations are really experimenting with creating an engaging online experience using Zoom meetings where people are coming together. There's breakout groups for people having different conversations, and the a real sense of community. And then you start kind of bringing in the live stream from the congregation. There are times where people are doing messages from Zoom broadcast into the service. We have this whole amazing continuum. So there's no one right answer. And I just want to say thank you for all that you do, for being here, for learning, maybe doing a little experimenting with your congregation. This session, I do have to wrap up promptly in 26 seconds because I have to get to a meeting, which was scheduled, unfortunately, on the hour. So thank you all so much. I will tune into, if you want to comment on this video, once the live stream is done with questions, I'll follow up and reply via text. So thank you all for everything you do, for trying to bring your congregation's experience online fully and being of service to people everywhere, online and on site. I'll talk to you all soon. Have a great day.